Welcome back to Grit Gym. Today we're talking about the math of strength, and if you violate the math of strength, you're going to end up with a world of hurt as you progress with your strength game, because this thing is wildly important, and it's really pretty non-complicated actually if you get into it. But if you're interested in learning more about what you can do with your strength levels, what you can do with your muscle mass, what you can do with your fat loss, you have to do the math. And if you're interested in learning how to do that math for your individual circumstance, go to gritgym.com/SS. And that stands for strategy session, and we will get you going on, we will sit down and we'll plan out and strategize and build the math around for you, with you, so that you can do it in your own life for your circumstance and your individual body and where you are at this time. But that's gritgym.com/SS. So what are we going over today? Well, to like make this maybe just a little bit more clear, 12 reps, we're like, these are going to be repetitions, okay? So I'll get rid of this. So if we're going 12 reps down, and we're going to go 10, 8, 6, 4, and 2. Well, 2 is going to be about 97% of your 1 rep max. So that means that you're going to be able to be, if 97% of your 1 rep max is 135, you're probably going to be able to do that for about 2 repetitions. And what's going on? And for those 2 repetitions, that's like the max that you can possibly do. You can't try to go for 4 on 97% on your 1 rep max unless it is your max out day and you have built up to that thing. Okay. So really, the thing that you're trying not to violate is the rule of coaxing the gain. You want to coax this thing along. Strength is not a matter of submitting your body to your will. Do not do that. You're going to end up in a world of hurt. Okay. I've done it. I tried to do this for the first 15 years of my lifting like career, I guess you could call it. I started lifting about 96, 97, and really is when I really started digging into it. That's when I really started learning about it and digging more into this stuff. But I was caught harassing the weight set in my grandma's basement, and she ended up buying me a book on this stuff. And that's when the light bulbs really came on. It was like, man, there's information out there. This is awesome. Okay? So I've been studying this stuff for well over 20 years. I'm not saying I know what I'm talking about, because every time I learn something, every time I read a new book, every time I'm like pushing myself out there, the more I learn, the more I realize I do not know. So the weird thing is when you get to the point where you're right, that's when it's really scary. But what I'm saying is I was harassing weight sets all the way up until like 96, 97. 97, my grandma gives me this book on strength and conditioning. It took me 15 years. I got a shoulder, I got a hip, I got a knee, I got an ankle injury, I've got a foot that I couldn't walk on for a whole year. Back in 2007, I've got a neck, I've got an elbow, and I have a wrist. There's a lot of trouble when you get into this, when you violate this rule of coaxing the gain. Okay? If we are going to do, let me finish this out before I actually jump into that. So for 2 reps is 97%. For 4 reps, you're going to be about 91%. For 6 reps, it's 85%, and then 79% for 8 reps, 73. For 10 reps, which would be 67. Yeah, 67% for 12 repetitions. Okay, why is this important? Because if you can know that this is the case, that for about 12 reps, and you're using 67% of your 1 rep max, that you can actually end up, that's a 1 rep max, that's a max out set. Okay, now we have the ability to coax the game, because we can use, let's say, 60% for the weight that we're doing on that 12 reps, so that we get all clean repetitions, okay, and that we get this coaxing effect. Okay, we get this, come here, let me adjust what's going on with the body so that we can gain there. What's up, Maz? But you want to coax the game, right? So for instance, if you try, let's use a 6 rep max. So that's 85%. Okay. So you have a 200. So let's say that your 1 rep max is 200 pounds. Let's say that it's an overhead press, because you can see my shoulders here. Okay. So it's a 200-pound overhead press. And you're going to do 6 repetitions. What should your weight be? What is the max weight that you could possibly do for a set of 6? Well, you know that you're going to use 85%. of 200 pounds. So that's basically, that's like 80, what is that? That's 85 times 2, so that's 160. So it's 170 pounds. So you're going to use 100, is that right? So you're going to use 170 pounds. Are you though? What if it's week 1? What if it's week 2? What if it's week 3? Okay? What if you're on, so you have week 1, and then you have week 2, and then you have week 3, and then you have week 4, okay? Well, we want to do that same overhead press week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. And for most beginners, you're going to want to do 6 reps each week, okay? Because you want to be coaxing that gain along. The body needs time to learn what you're trying to help it do. Okay? It has to learn this. It's not like your body just automatically goes like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I know that you're trying to make me stronger in the future. No, your body only knows the signals that you've given it in the past. It doesn't know where you're trying to go. You have to give it the morsels along the way to lead it to where you want to go. And the problem with the fitness industry is that most people are trying to convince you into this path where you do not want to go. It's a path to injury almost every time. Hey, and like you probably have a certain number of injuries in your life too. And if you come out here for a strategy session, and I bet you that we can look at your back, we can look at your knee, we can look at the history behind it, and be like, well, yeah, like I mean, you earned that back injury. You earned that knee injury. And if you're interested in learning about that, what was it, the chicken or the egg, and what you can do about it in the future, go to gritgym.com/SS. Sign up for a strategy session. It's 100% free. We can do this over the phone, or we can do it out here at Grit Gym, and we can get very clear on how you got to where you are and what you can do about it for your individual circumstance. But you want to use the same thing over and over for 4 weeks, guys. For about depending on the person, about 2 to 10 weeks is about the time that you want to start thinking about changing your exercise. For most people, 4 weeks is going to work very well. So we're doing an overhead press 4 weeks in a row at 6 reps. So where should 170 be? Okay, this is the error that most people do. Most people will think, okay, well, I can do 6 reps at 170 because my 200-pound 1 rep max times 85% is 170 pounds. So I should be able to do that on week 1. This is what most people do. This is the error they make. They go, okay, so I'm going to plan on doing 170 pounds my first week. Right? Then they go, but then my body's going to get stronger. By week 2, I bet you I can do 180. By week 3, I bet you that I can do 190. You know what? I bet you can get 6 reps at 200 because my body is going to respond to what it did back then. These are separate. My body's going to respond to what I did week 1. It's going to be like, okay, well, I got a lot stronger. Now I can move it to 180, 190. This does not work. This does not work. I've seen thousands of people try to do this. It doesn't work. This gets you the shoulder, it gets you the knee, it gets you the hip injury, it gets you the foot injury, it gets you the back injury, it gets you all the problems. You don't want to do this. This is the error that almost everybody makes. The body doesn't know where you're trying to go. It only is working off of the signals that you've given it in the past. You don't get stronger in the gym. You respond to it later during the recovery phase. Okay? You give yourself a stimulus in the gym so that it has a positive, an imposed stress that designs the stimulus that you're trying to get in the future. So don't build past how strong you actually are, because a 6 rep, somebody real quick, do 200 divided by, hey Tori, can you do 200 divided by 0.8 or 0.85? And that'll get us or can you do a reverse calculation on 200 pounds? You can just do it on the math of strength right there. So do 6 reps. So let's say that a person got 200 pounds at 6 reps. They got 200 pounds at 6 reps. That gives them what for a 1 rep max? Oh, crap. Okay, thanks. Appreciate it. So the actual math on somebody that got 200 times 6 equals 235, okay? You are not going to put 35, you might, if you do it the way that I'm going to explain here in a little bit, you might, if you do what I say here in a little bit. But if you try to do it this way, you're not going to end up at 235. You're not even going to be able to pull off 170 for 6 because you torched yourself out on week 1, then you tried to make up for it, and you failed on 3 reps. at week 2, and then you failed at week 3, and then you're like, okay, well, maybe my body will have it this week, and then it fails at 200 because you screwed yourself in the first week. Okay, what you need to do is get a plan. And if you want a plan, go to gritgym.com/SS, and we'll set you up with one. But what you need to do is you need to work backwards. So the most that you could probably possibly do that we know is about a 1 rep max of 200 at 6 reps is 170 pounds. So at 170 pounds, we know that that's going to go in right here, times 6. But you do a little plus sign there so that if you get 8, way to go. What's that? Hey, Tori, what's 170, a 170 1 rep max on 8 reps? All right, yeah. So thanks, Tori. Times 8 reps equals 215 pounds. If you get 8 reps, you used to be able to get 6. That's a 15-pound 1 rep max. Your 1 rep max just went from 200 to 215. And you didn't get injured. And you coaxed the gain. You did not violate the rule that we're talking about. Okay? I violated this rule countless times in my training history. And it got me a foot, got me a knee, got me a hip, got me a shoulder, got me all these bad things. Okay? When I finally figured this out, started using this and doing the math, stopped being an ignorant little jerk to my body, everything started to improve. Numbers shot up. I felt better throughout the day. I had more energy throughout the day. My relationship, even weird things, like my relationships were better, my focus was better, everything was better. If you do this stuff, if you violate the rule of coaxing the gain, everything gets really, really bad. Okay? Now, so what do we need to do? All right, well, we need to work backwards, for one. This is where we're trying to end up at the 170 times 6, and we call it a 6 plus, and then if we get 2 extra reps, we got 15 pounds stronger. But how do we get there? Well, we're going to have to go down a little bit. We could do out the math further than this, but to keep this very simple, week 3, we're probably going to do 160 times 6 and not go beyond that. Week 2, we might go 155 times 6. Even though you could maybe do 170 times 6, you're only going to go to 155. And then maybe week 1, we only do 145 times 6 because we're coaxing the gain along. Okay? You give the body a stimulus, which is an imposed stress designed to do us a favor in the future. Okay? We're not trying to get stronger during the lift. We're trying to get stronger while we sleep so that later on we can get all the benefit of what we did today. Okay? But you have to be patient. Okay? You have to do the math. 145 times 6, 155 times 6, maybe it's 165 times 6. And then the last week is 170 times 6. With this scenario, your body is rested, okay? Your body is ready. Your body has kind of learned to trust you, which is the whole game anyway. That's what coaxing the gain is all about. It's about trust. I'm late. What is this all about? It's about the math of strength. So the math of strength is a concept within coaxing the gain. So coaxing the gain is a matter of not submitting your body to your will. It's a matter of coaxing it to where we want it to go. We want to leave little morsels along the way to get to where we want to go. We don't want to try to submit our body to our will because that just leads to an injury. For instance, if you're doing overhead press, is which the example that we're using here, you're using overhead press and you're just maxing out every single day, the little micro traumas that you're giving to your body, the body can't recover from that fast enough to actually get us the gain that we want. Whereas if we back down the weight just a little bit and stop trying to submit our body into our will and started listening to our body and knowing when to shut down, then we can plan what we want it to do, and then it gives us all these favors in the future. It's maybe, so like if you had a horse and you wanted that horse to do something, to learn a new trick, and every time that it did the trick, you hit it. Eventually that horse is like, no, I don't want to do that trick. But if you were nice to it and you fed it a carrot and you did all these nice things to it every time that it did the trick, it's more than ready to help you out with that trick. Your body's the same way. The relationship that you build with your body is absolute, and it's an amazing thing when you start doing the math out so that you can be accurate on the numbers that you're using, so you take out the guesswork. And some people like to point out that this is just, that the percentages can't work out. What we do at Grit is we do a plus 10% to your weight any given day. So you come in, You have 3 days of awesome sleep. You've had 2 weeks of really good nutrition, and you're feeling awesome. You're feeling really ready to go. We'll go up by 10%, but we won't go beyond that 10%, okay? Because we want to accommodate and use that day of just like really being ready and feeling good. Now, let's say you come in on a day where you really just feel like shit, like you've had, you're hungover, you haven't slept in 3 days, maybe you're a little on the edge of being sick. Well, we'll drop the weight by 30% to accommodate not feeling so good, so the body can still get a stimulus without being beaten to death. So like it works. The point of the math is to be off. Like we know that we're going to be wrong by a little bit, but we're only going to be wrong by about like a tiny little amount. A tiny little amount. I'm okay with being off by a tiny little amount. I am not okay with being off by gigantic amounts. And if you try to guess what your weight should be, you end up trying to do 235 when you should be doing 170. Okay? If you do the math out, you do yourself a world of favor. All right. So let's say we're doing an overhead press. This is, week 1, 2, and 3. Is it like deloading? No, not quite like deloading. Deloading would be like most people would either do a deload week 1 or week 3. We do a deload week 1 because you're learning new exercises, so we just take the volume and the intensity down really far. And I think that's probably the best way to do a deload. If you, a lot of people will do their deloads where they up the intensity but they lower their volume, or vice versa, where that still ends you up about right here. Whereas if you just do both of them and you give your body this big wave of like, stepping back and deloading, you do yourself a world of favor. So it's more about like just planning it out smart. So if you tried to max out, like even if you do a deload on week 1 and then you try to max out week 2, week 3, and week 4, you're going to sacrifice what you can do week 4 because of what you torched your body out on week 2 and week 3. Whereas if you're smart about this and you just do a little bit less than you're capable, but you still enough to get the stimulus, but not to like where you're maxing out, then on week 4 you can come in and you can really blast it out. Okay, so is it like deload? Like I suppose in a way. But we're definitely doing a much bigger deload on week 1. Some people will do it on week 3 so that they can come back week 4 and really hammer it. That's usually a little bit more of an advanced tactic. I really like to do it that way, but for general population, we're learning the exercises in week 1, and so we can drop the volume and the intensity by quite a bit just to learn the exercises just because they're new. And so it creates like a natural deload in that way. It's worked out a lot better for us. But the math is a different deal. And what we did at the beginning was 12%, or for 12 reps, you're going to be at about 67%. 10, you're going to be about 73. 8 reps is going to be about 79%. 6 reps is going to be about 85%. So you would just take, if your 1 rep max is 200, you would take 200 of it times 0.85, and that would give you the amount of weight that you should use for a 6 rep max. And then your 6 rep max is what you're going to try to do week 4, right? But if you use a repetition max model, it's a little bit more safe than a 1 rep max model. And so if you do, let's say you do 170 and you were planning on getting 6, but you're going to push for as many as you can. Let's say you end up getting 8. Well, instead of your 200-pound 1 rep max, now your 1 rep max is now 215. So you had a 15-pound plus, or 15-pound gain on your 1 rep max that you can use to do the math for your next phase, which we're not getting into conversions here, like how you would convert overhead press to like a horizontal bench press, for instance. We're staying away from that. I'll do that at a different time, though, if you're interested. But it's a way to plan out what you would do. So week 4, we were planning on getting a 170 times 6 plus. The plus just means doing as many reps as you possibly can. And then what are we going to do in week 2, week 3, week 2, week 1, so that we're building up to what we want to get on week 4. Because if we've beaten the body up on week 1, 2, and 3, the body doesn't trust us for week 4, so it won't give us what we need to have to really push out into what we want to get on that week 4. Does that make sense? I hope so. I appreciate the questions. I like it when I get questions on here. It's fun. It makes it more interactive. Then we can actually get into communication instead of me just like talking. But we always keep the range. Plus 10, if you're feeling awesome, minus anywhere from plus 10 to minus 30. If you're really feeling terrible, we'll go down 30%. When you get down to 30%, I mean, like like 30% of 200, I mean, you know, or you're lowering it by 30%, then you're getting down to a weight that's like hardly anything. So, but it's still enough to give us a stimulus to keep going. Anyway, so this is the math of strength. If you violate the coax the gain, you're asking for an injury. You're literally begging your body to give you what you didn't want. Whereas if you follow this idea of coaxing the gain, okay, your body will give you the thing that you do want. It'll give you the strength. It'll give you the energy. It'll give you the focus. It'll give you the muscle gain, the fat loss. It'll give you the whole show, but you've got to coax the gain. If you're trying to force your body into submission, it's not going to give you that, okay? It's not going, it's just like so many people are beating their body to death, being very mean to their body and expecting it to give them what they want. And that's no different than in your relationships with a pet or another person. If you're really mean to somebody, they're probably not going to give you what you want, okay? You know, and there's a time and a place to pull this off to really push the body, but it's where you're both cooperatively pushing in the same direction. When you beat it up on week 1, 2, and 3 and then try to go for week 4, it's already fighting you. Whereas if you cooperate with it on week 1, 2, and 3, on week 4, it's ready to go to battle with you, okay? Your training is a matter of leadership, not a matter of submission. You want to lead this thing, to coax the gain along. All right, so let me know below. Put in the comment section, did you guys get anything out of this? Is this too complicated? Do I need to make this more clear in some way? But this is the math of strength. If you do not do the math, you're asking for trouble. If you do the math, you're going to get tons of gain out of it. Okay? I encourage you, please sit down, do the math, watch these. It will not make sense at the beginning, but you keep on going, you keep on learning about these things. Okay? And there's a few different areas where you just cannot outsource them to somebody else. Okay? You cannot outsource your health. You cannot outsource your wealth. You can't outsource your relationship, and you cannot outsource the responsibility that you have around your time on this planet. Learn as much as you can about your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your time. Okay? You cannot outsource these things. Okay? Do not outsource your health. Learn how to do the math. I know that it'll be complicated up front, and you can get help with this by coming into us and getting a plan. You go to gritgym.com/SS. We'll do this over the phone. Phone. I don't know what that was. I don't think I've ever made that sign in my life. But we can do this over the phone, or we can do this in person. It doesn't really matter to me. Both are going to work. We can do the math we need to set up targets, and we need to set up how to actually set up the guide to get to where we want to go. You're leaving morsels along the way. You're leading your body. Your body doesn't know where you're consciously wanting to go. Okay? It only knows what it needs to react to in the past. Okay? So you have to use that. Do the math. Anyway. That's, what is today? That's Tuesday, the math of strength. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please share it out. And for us to help you out the best is to do a one-on-one, okay? We do it for free for a reason. It's gritgym.com/SS. That's the best way that we can get you started on your health journey. So anyway, go to gritgym.com/SS and figure out why you should sign up for a strategy session, and then do it. And also hammer the math. Ask me questions about this, okay? Let me know what you think, okay? Because the more that you can understand the stuff, the better. Strength training doesn't have to get you injured. Okay? The reason that it gets you injured is because you didn't do the math. If you do the math, you make gains. You don't do the math, you get an injury. Okay? We are always getting a result. Every single second of every single day, you're getting a result. You sit on the couch for 6 years, you got a result. You go work out, you got a result. Okay? You eat an apple, you got a result. You know, you eat a Snickers bar, you're gonna get a result. Okay? So get the result that you do want, not the one that you don't want. Anyway, I'm Adam Reese, Grit Gym. To get signed up for a strategy session, go to gritgym.com/SS, and we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, guys. See you soon.